To partner up or fly solo, that is a big question. This is what you need to keep in mind before you make a choice. Check it out. Fam, what's up? Welcome back. Let's talk a little business 101. One of the big questions that I get on a regular basis is, when should I partner up? Should I partner up with somebody else to launch my business? Is it a good idea to partner up? Is it a bad idea? What makes it a good idea? What do I need to find out, right? So there's a lot of questions that fall in the sequence of making a choice on whether or not to partner up with somebody in whatever business you're taking part of. The following are some things that I've learned throughout my last 20 years of owning a business, right? At the beginning, I did have to partner up. I didn't have the funds to launch the business, so I had to bring somebody else into the business. There was some really good things. There was some stuff, that were not so good, and there was friction at some points and whatnot. So this is what I've learned, right? And I was of the mindset that I was never gonna partner up ever again in any other business, but the reality is that if you wanna go fast, you go by yourself. But if you wanna go far, you have to partner up. You go with others, right? So there's multiple ways of doing that kind of stuff, and this is what I want to kind of highlight a little bit. First off, understand that if you're partnering up with somebody else, you're marrying that person for the business life, right? So if it's one person, two people, three people, it doesn't matter. Everybody has to be on the same page. It's very, very important, especially when it comes to accountability and self-accountability, more importantly. You are gonna have to be accountable to somebody else. A lot of times we get into entrepreneurship because we just don't wanna answer to anybody else, right? Nobody tells me what to do. It doesn't fly that way when you are in a partnership. Why? Because now you have to be accountable because, other people are involved. Now, whatever you do impacts others, impacts other owners, right? So there's a couple of things. It's kind of like, if you don't play well with others, really, really consider before jumping into any partnerships and doing some due diligence. So let's talk about some of the things that you need to look out for or keep in mind when you're making that decision on whether or not to partner with somebody. All right, so the first one, is there a need? Do you really need to partner with somebody? Or are you just hyped up by a good friendship, a good relationship, a good something? Is there a need for you to partner up with somebody? A lot of times it's friction can be created out of nothing, right? So you have to keep in mind whether or not there's value in that partnership. What value are you bringing to the table, right? Which leads me right into the second thing, which is the strengths. If you're partnering up with somebody who has the exact same strengths as you do, it's probably not gonna pan out, okay? You have to look for people who complement you. You really do. Everybody works on their strengths. Everybody, for example, if you're really good at being a people person, right? At networking, at sales, and that other person is very detail-oriented, right? That complements. There's stuff that you might be missing that the other person may catch, and it just kind of fills in the blank, right? So think about creating relationships like that. There's a need, and you're combining strength, all right? You're not building the same strength, or overbuilding that strength, because what's gonna happen is that one of the partners is gonna end up overpowering the other, and that's how conflict begins, right? So the next thing, keep in mind, how long is a partnership for? Are you doing something that's perpetual, so it's gonna be going on forever until, I don't know, the birds come home? Or is it something that's gonna happen for 6 months? Is it gonna happen, for a year? Usually, if it's something that's happening for the short term, it's more of a JV, so a joint venture partnership, as opposed to a full-fledged partnership, right? And I'll talk about that here in a second. But keep in mind, right? Are you guys, okay, if you're gonna get married, are you gonna get married for the next 3 months, 3 years? Is there gonna be any non-compete clauses in there if people split up? How is that gonna look if something goes south, right? So the length of the partnership, thinking about how long are we gonna be in this for is very important to keep that in mind. Are you gonna roll with this person for the rest of your professional career in that type of business? Or is it something that, no, I just, I wanna use whatever assets, resources they have, they're gonna use me for a period of time, and then you have a peaceful, parting of ways. That matters, right? Which takes me to I feel like this is one of the most important things. There has to be a dating period. There has to be a period where you guys actually collaborate with each other and you see if there's synergy. You see if there's actually, beyond the theoretical, you see if there's stuff that you can actually complement each other with, right? Is somebody really good at systems, and is the other person really good at just, pushing the machine, right? Do we have a really big thinker in the group that can just push perspective and just increase that vision, right? As opposed to that other person who might be more risk averse, right? There has to be things that play with each other More importantly, you have to make sure that you are playing well with each other. So what I would recommend is do a JV agreement first, meaning that you jump in for, in the context of wholesaling or real estate, okay, let's do a couple of deals together, see how we pan out. If it works on the marketing side, if it works on the transaction coordination side, if it works on the task and collaboration and responsibility and accountability, if all that stuff is clicking, in a decent way, right? You give it a shot for a period of time. I've done that up to 6 months before we set up, anything up that's more permanent. So it's okay to date the partners that you're looking at getting into business with. Why? Because when everybody's sitting down on a meeting and you're doing projections and you're imagining how shit's gonna pan out, is gonna be okay, like the greatest thing in the world, everything sounds good and everything sounds doable. But the reality is that people operate differently when we're under pressure, right? So when we're under pressure, we're gonna go back to default. We're gonna if it's a high-tempered, type of person, they're gonna get lit up real quick when something doesn't go the right way. So how are you gonna deal with that? In a very permanent way, right? It's your business, so you have to keep in mind who you're going to be getting into business with. So do the date test. Try it out for a few JV or even a temporary period. If you're not in an industry where you can actually partner up for deals or something that's more short term, set up a deadline. Hey, let's give it a shot for 3 months. Let's give it a shot for 6 months. You both give it your all, or 3 or 4 people, however many partners you have, give it your all, and you actually start compiling things before getting too worried about how we're gonna split the pie, right? That's one of the biggest things that happens, I think, when people are thinking about partnering up. It's like, okay, we need to set up the distributions. How that's like, you haven't produced anything yet. All right, worry about whether or not this thing's gonna work in the first place, and then split up the pie accordingly. I see it often. It actually causes a lot more friction than production at the beginning. So again, see if you're even able to play together before you start, dividing pies that are not even there. In my opinion, there's a lot more pros than cons to actually finding a really good partner in your business, right? Yeah, your piece of the pie might get a little bigger, but it's gonna be a bigger pie. Think about it for a second. You're doing twice the work, right? Your workload is spread up. So now it's not just on you to make things work. Somebody else is picking up that legwork as well, and you have some of your time back. So the network that comes along with it. When you partner with somebody else, you're also expanding into whatever their network and their reach is, right? So you get resources, you get knowledge, you get perspective, you get vision. There's a lot of really big things about partnering up with the right person. You just have to make sure that you are talking to the right person, right? So keep that in mind. It's a few things that we need to be aware of when we're thinking about marrying somebody in the business, right? So to partner up or fly solo, that is a big question. Sit with this. This is not something that happens from one day to the next. Do not do it in a euphoric state when you meet with somebody and then both of you are just having high dreams of projections and what can happen. Like, look, actually sit down and think about it for a second, because it's going to have a big impact. Make sure you set up your expectations out front. Who's going to be doing what? There's a lot of clarification needs to happen before you actually jump into that relationship, because once you're in it and things are moving fast, it's really, really easy to lose control and to lose emotional control of things, right? So everybody has to be on the same page. So set your expectations up front, define the roles, and talk about how you're gonna hold each other accountable, right? Be smart about your partnerships. Do me a favor, right? The question I have for you is, tell me something. Tell me one thing that you learned. If you partner up with anybody in the past, tell me one thing that you've learned through that process. Drop it in the comments, all right? Let's have a back and forth conversation. It's a two-way street. And if you like the content that I'm putting out there for you guys on a regular basis, do me a big, big favor, subscribe, like, share it, send it to somebody else who you might think can benefit from all this content, and I'll catch you on the next one. Stay focused. You got this.